Hello everyone, welcome back to Fast Football Talk for our third annual mock draft for the 2022 draft upcoming tonight. A few things I want to say before we hop right into this mock draft. As always, this is a what I would do mock draft, not a predictive mock draft. And then just a note about this year's class, it's not as good as other recent classes have been. I don't think that there's a whole lot of can't miss prospects at the top. So that might mean that there is a little bit less trading going on because obviously you need two partners, one to trade up and one to trade down. So a lot of people I think want to trade down, not a lot of people want to trade up. I just don't think that there's a huge gap in the talent here. So I did just want to note that before we hop into the draft here, that my philosophy is going to be swinging for home runs because I don't think that there's a whole lot of can't miss prospects in this draft per se. So without any further ado, let's hop right in. With the first overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take edge player Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. And this isn't the highest upside pick. Hutchinson isn't even my first ranked edge player in this class. But the Jags staff, quite frankly, has shown themselves to be incompetent at drafting and developing talent. So you need to start digging yourself out of this hole at some point. So just grab a solid player who's going to be a great starter in the NFL for the next decade. Even if he never turns into quite the elite level, he's going to be pretty darn good. Then moving to the second overall pick, the Detroit Lions are going to take edge player Kayvon Thibodeaux. And Thibodeaux is my highest graded edge in this class. He's probably my #1 player too. He's the best of both worlds between Hutchinson and Walker, I feel like. He has the college production that you look for from the edge position. Well, he also has the athletic upside to be an elite player at the position like a Trayvon Walker does. So I feel all this debate between the two of them, just grab the guy who's best of both worlds, and I think Detroit's going to get a really solid player here. Moving on to the third pick, the Houston Texans are going to grab cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU, and he is my choice for the top corner in the class over Sauce Gardner. Just 2 years ago, Stingley had the best college cornerback season ever as a true freshman. He was 19 years old, locking up SEC receivers, some of the best in the nation. And then he dropped off the next 2 years, which has kind of pushed his draft stock down a little bit. But this was due to a combination of injuries, that weird COVID year, and then the horrible culture environment that kind of festered up at LSU after their championship year. It's no wonder that he kind of tapped out mentally there. But he looked healthy again on his pro day, and I think that a good Texans locker room culture with all those vets will really keep him engaged. And I think that he has the highest upside of a corner in a long time. He very well could be the next Darrelle Revis if you hit big on him. Moving on to 4, the New York Jets are going to select tackle Evan Neal out of Alabama. And he's quite possibly the best prospect in this draft talent-wise, right up there with Thibodeaux to me. But he falls here to 4. He's a super athletic tackle. He looks and he moves like a tight end despite being massive for the position that he plays. And there are concerns coming out of New York about Mekhi Becton. He missed most of last season with an injury, and now there's concerns about if he's going to be ready and possible weight gain, might be out of shape. So this is going to give the Jets kind of a backup at the position, but also I'm not going to let Mekhi Becton stop me from drafting possibly the best player in this class. So now you all of a sudden you have a lot of versatility with 2 pretty good tackles that you can move to right and left sides. Moving on to the other New York team, the Giants are going to take tackle Ikem Ekwonu. And quite frankly, this line was terrible last year, one of the worst in the league. So we need to add help any way we can to Daniel Jones. Ekwonu is a big and dominant run defender. However, he can be a bit sloppy in his pass pro sometimes, so that is going to be something that he needs to work on at the next level. But what's nice about Ekwonu is that you have the guard and tackle flexibility. If you want to play him as guard, he's probably the best guard in this class, and then tackle, second best behind Evan Neal to me. Moving on to the 6th overall pick, the Carolina Panthers are going to take tackle Charles Cross out of Mississippi State. I think that in real life they're going to go quarterback here, but quite frankly, I hate when a regime does this, when someone is clearly on their way out or in the hot seat like Matt Rule is, and then they take a developmental quarterback to try to save themselves one last Hail Mary throw. It usually never works out for the player or team. You stunt that player's development, and your team ends up sucking anyways, and you get fired. So we're going to add help to an even worse offensive line. Cross is the best pass blocker in this class, and I think you add him here, he's going to be an instant franchise staple for 10 years. Moving on to the 7th overall pick, we're going to have our first trade of the draft. So New York is going to move down, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to move up. So they're going to give up the 20th overall pick and the future first, while New York gives up this 7th pick. And for the Giants, I wanted to trade down my second pick because, like I said, the lack of elite prospects at the top of the draft. Here, there was no one that really stuck out to me, and I thought the difference between 7 and 20 in terms of talent really wasn't that big, so I'd rather move down, grab an extra pick next year, and put myself in a position to go grab a quarterback. Now, the Steelers, they move up to draft Willis. He's the quarterback with the highest upside in this class. He makes crazy special plays with his athleticism, arm talent, and play extension, but he does struggle reading defenses and can be prone to bad decision making. So he's going to need a solid environment with a good culture and good coaching in order to be successful. And that's why I chose the Steelers to move up for him. I think that they can provide that. And, I mean, really, Tomlin can bring him along. And I think that this gives him the best chance and the best opportunity to succeed in the league. Moving down south, the Atlanta Falcons are going to take wide receiver Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. And you lost Ridley and Gage this offseason. That wide receiver room is void of talent. You look through the names and you can't recognize any of them. Wilson has the best upside in this class to be a true X receiver. He's the best pure separator, and I see flashes of Stephon Diggs a lot in his play. So you grab the number one wide receiver on the board, and when you get Ridley back, you're going to have a nasty offense with Ridley, Wilson, and Pitts to pair with your eventual quarterback of the future. Moving on to Seattle with the 9th overall pick, the Seahawks are going to take cornerback Ahmad Gardner, and Sauce is another great corner prospect worthy of being taken in the top 10. He's built at an unusual size for a corner at 6'3", and he has the unexpected athleticism to match. Sauce is best suited for zone schemes with his good instincts, and I think that Seattle would love to grab a tall, instinctive corner who can press receivers on the outside. It fits their cover 3 scheme perfectly. Then at the 10th overall pick, we're going to have our second trade of this draft. New York is going to give up the 10th pick for wide receiver Deebo Samuel. Deebo has made it clear that he wants out of San Francisco, and quite frankly, they're not going to get a better offer than the 10th pick. So the Jets finally get that coveted wide receiver 1 they've been looking to trade for. And then the 49ers, they're going to select Trayvon Walker. This is the best possible spot for him to develop, and if he becomes the elite pass rusher that his athleticism suggests he could be, just imagine how elite of a duo he's going to be with Bosa and Eric Armstead and Dee Ford if he's there at the time, which is not likely. I did want to note, though, about Walker potentially being the first overall pick. I think that's going to be a mistake for Jacksonville tonight. There's a clear correlation at the edge position. Data has proven this between college production and success in the NFL. Now, of course, there are exceptions, but those are exceptions, not the rule. And I love his athleticism so much, but in any other year, he profiles more as a mid to late first round pick. I think of players like Josh Sweat, Kayvon Chason. It seems Walker is more in the range there. Now, I think that Walker is likely to go first overall tonight, and I just don't think that that is a good spot for this player to be. So I'm a little concerned there, but I think here at San Francisco, it's a perfect spot for him. Then at pick 11, the Washington Commanders are going to take cornerback Trent McDuffie, and their defense really struggled in pass coverage last year, despite how good it was supposed to be. And I think McDuffie is another really good corner prospect in this draft. He's a bit undersized, but a lot of analysts have said that he has the best cornerback tape in the class. This kind of seems to be a consensus opinion. So I think he has the upside to turn into a Tre'Davious White kind of player, and even if you get 70% of Tre'Davious White, you're happy here at pick number 11. Moving on to 12, the Minnesota Vikings are going to take safety Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. And I think Hamilton's been far overhyped as a prospect due to his crazy size for the position, but he's really not the unicorn or freak athlete that everyone thinks he is. He's a slow player and he lacks the range and cover instincts to be a true high safety. I think he really needs to be around the line of scrimmage in a coverage role as a big slot, a star, or an overhang linebacker. And I think that the Vikings are one of the few landing spots for him, which is why I took him here. They can use him in that Harrison Smith role. They're very similar players, and just like that, they find their Harrison Smith replacement, and hopefully they can get some success out of him. Now here at 13, the Houston Texans are back up with their second pick, and I take edge George Karlaftis out of Purdue. I want to trade down, but like I said, there's no trade-up candidates in this range, so I'm going to take Karlaftis, who is the opposite of a lot of edge players in this class, where he doesn't have the elite athleticism, but he produced all through college and should be at least a solid starter in the NFL. Then going to Baltimore with pick 14, they're going to take interior defensive lineman Jordan Davis from Georgia. What more can I say about him that hasn't been said? He is a physical freak. No one that big should be able to move that fast. There are concerns, though, namely the lack of usage at Georgia. I think he only played something like 300 snaps his senior season. It concerns me with his conditioning. What does that look like? And then also you're going to have to develop him as a pass rusher. But overall, this pick just screams Baltimore Ravens to me, and I think that they can bring him along pretty all right, and they have a freaking nature on their defense. The Eagles are going to take guard Zion Johnson from Boston College. He's the best interior lineman in this class besides Ekwonu, however you feel what position he could play. Johnson is a great athletic move blocker, and I think that he's going to be a good zone blocker for the Eagles and fits right into that offensive line. Then at 16, the Saints are going to take tackle Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. After free agency, they have a gaping left tackle-sized hole in their offense, so we're going to fill it with the next best tackle, who is Penning. He's another nasty run defender in this class, and he brings a Mauler mentality every snap he plays. At the Senior Bowl, he did an interview, and he said something along the lines of how he wants the guy opposite him, the guy that he's playing against, to hate him every single snap that he takes. So, just a real tough offensive lineman that you're going to want on your team. At 17, the Chargers are going to take Jameson Williams from Alabama, and he's this year's speed threat in the draft, which almost seems to be a yearly occurrence coming out of Alabama. And he's capable of taking the top off of any defense. And I particularly like him to the Chargers here because he doesn't have to take the load of being a number 1 or number 2 receiver, but instead he can focus on what he does best, which is being a deep threat, scoring threat for Herbert. It gives him another way to light up the scoreboard in a competitive AFC West, and I think take all those guys that you can get. With Philadelphia's second pick, they're going to take safety Daxton Hill from Michigan, and I think that Hill is an underrated safety prospect in this draft. He's my top safety in the class, and I think that, quite frankly, he's a better prospect than Hamilton. Everyone thinks that Hamilton is the freaky athlete, but really it's Daxton Hill. Hill ran in the 4.3s, he has long arms despite being shorter than Hamilton, and then also he has better coverage instincts, and he has better versatility. At Michigan, they played Hill everywhere, and he even lined up as a slot corner, which he can do at the next level. I think that Hill's going to be a surprise high riser, and I think that he's going to be one of the best rookies at this time next year. Moving on to the Saints' second pick, at 19, we're going to take wide receiver Chris Olave from Ohio State. The Saints really need help in a depleted wide receiver room. They just had no one last year, and Olave is the best route runner in this class, and he had a great combine, so he projects really well to the next level as just a solid Z receiver. Never going to be a true number 1, but always just a solid number 2. And then at pick 20, where the Giants moved down to with the Steelers, they're going to take center Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa. I again decided to add more line help to the Giants, so I went with the best remaining lineman, that's Tyler Linderbaum. If he wasn't a center, I think he'd be drafted a lot higher than this spot, but just because of the position he plays, it's a little less valuable. But he's a good move blocker, and he should be a starter for the next decade in New York. At pick 21, the New England Patriots are going to take cornerback Andrew Booth from Clemson, and the Patriots are going to get themselves a raw prospect after the departure of J.C. Jackson. Booth got beat more than you'd like in college, but he does have all the tools there as a prospect to be an outside corner. He projects better as a press man corner, so he should have a really solid shot to succeed here in New England, where they have a track record of developing those kind of guys. 22, the Green Bay Packers are going to take wide receiver Drake London from USC, and Green Bay is in desperate need of receivers. I'm a bit lower on London, but I'm willing to take a shot here. He's a massive player and a good route runner, but I do have questions about his speed in the NFL level. I do think that because of that, he needs an accurate quarterback who can throw back shoulders and other pinpoint sideline balls to give him that best chance of success, and that's going to be here in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. Going to Arizona, they're going to take interior defensive lineman Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, and they've needed help in the middle of their defensive line for a long time now. Wyatt's going to give them that explosive interior pass rush to pair with J.J. Watt, and those guys together are going to create havoc on third downs. At 24, the Dallas Cowboys are going to take tackle Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. And this Cowboys line continues to get older and kind of leak talent through free agency, so I wanted to replenish this talent by adding a developmental tackle prospect. Raymond is incredibly raw and hasn't been playing football for long, but he does have a lot of upside, and he should be able to learn and develop in Dallas before eventually taking over as a starter maybe in a year or so. Then at 25, the Buffalo Bills are going to take cornerback Kyler Gordon from Washington, and Buffalo has struggled to find a solid second cornerback for years now, and so they're going to take Gordon, who's the best available. He's versatile to play in any alignment and is an incredibly explosive athlete. Next up is Tennessee at 26, where they're going to take edge Jermaine Johnson from Florida State. Tennessee has not had good edge play in a long time. Bud Dupree and the other guy that they have there, spacing on his name right now, but they are not great players, and they're both very expensive. So I'm going to take Johnson here, who is a fast rising power rusher. He had an incredible Senior Bowl performance, so if he's able to perform against 24-year-old guys in the Senior Bowl, he should at least be an NFL quality player. Up here at pick 27, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to go with a little bit of a surprise pick and take quarterback Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. And I really think the Buccaneers and Buccaneer fans learned this offseason that in the NFL, rosters turnover just like that. One day you have Tom Brady, the next day he's retired, and then the next day he's back. You don't want to be left in the musical chairs when the music stops without a chair again. You want to have a quarterback that is the plan for the future. And that's what Desmond Ridder is to me. Now, they did draft Kyle Trask last year to be that, but I think he sucks. So Ridder has all the physical tools to hopefully become something more at the next level. With good coaching, surrounding pieces, obviously he doesn't have to play here. And it's a good team. So I think that this would be a really good spot for him where he can sit and learn, and Tom Brady's probably going to retire again next year. You bring in Desmond Ridder as your starter. At 28, Green Bay is going to take wide receiver George Pickens from Georgia. And I wanted to double down at wide receiver for the Packers. Their receiver room is that bad. Pickens is another late riser who might have gone earlier if he didn't miss this season with an injury. He is one of the few guys in this class who really has that X position upside, and he has a shot in Green Bay to reach that upside with Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to take Pickens here, and let's hope that he reaches his upside as a number one receiver. Then going to Kansas City with back-to-back picks. First, they're going to take Arnold Ebiketie at 29. The Chiefs really showed last year how much they struggled to get pressure on quarterbacks. They need to add to this group desperately. And Ebiketie is a fast, developmental pass rush specialist who's going to be able to step in there and help. And at 30, their next pick, they're going to take cornerback Kaiir Elam from Florida. Their coverage unit was in the bottom of the league last year too. Really, their defense struggled all the way around. So we're going to take Elam, a press man cover corner with the ideal size that you look for to play on the outside. Then at 31, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to take guard Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, and he is the final piece to add in rebuilding this Bengals offensive line. He has great strength to be a good run defender, and then he's also solid in pass protection. He should step into Cincinnati and be an instant starter for them. The last pick in the draft, we're going to take Devin Lloyd to the Detroit Lions as the one and only linebacker, just because linebacker really is a position that I don't feel should be going in the first round. Nearly every year, these guys that go in the first round really struggle and are almost never worth it. But I'm willing to take him here. The Lions, they're changing their defensive scheme, so they're going to start to bring a lot of 5-6-man blitzes, and Lloyd is just one of the best linebackers in the league off the blitz. So he can add that to your defense as well as being a solid contributor in the run and the zone passing game. Well, guys, that is going to do it for our mock draft. Up on your screens right now is going to be a recap, so you can remember all the picks that we went over. Do let me know down in the comments which prospects you agree with, which you don't agree with, who your favorite players are, which ones you don't like, and do make sure to like and subscribe as well, please. And that's going to do it for our third annual mock draft. As always, this is Fast signing off with a mile-high salute.